Debug 7 at wopros.commerce. By means of an unseen hand, the renovation worker failed to venture. Similarly, interior, he stood at the brink, 347, staring down the darkish hallway that stretched into the heart of the residence, where the faint light from the rear window discovered diminished canine paw prints at the tile floor. The paw prints were scattered as though undergoing Nikita and Xena had frantically run across the residence, seeking to chase some thing or someone unnameable within the residence. Time appeared to face nonetheless. However, a feel of determined urgency hung in the air like a stifled observe in fate's somber symphony. And because the upkeep employee turned away, he observed himself trembling now, not from the late wintry weather sit back, however, from the uncooked instinct that he had simply inadvertently opened the final door to the name of the game. Gene Hackman had kept hidden in his very last days, the ajar door not handiest. Opened the residence, however. Also open the silent hell within the Legends Lifestyles Bankruptcy 2, a window into horror. The workers, terrified, whisper Santa Fe. A quiet afternoon, the solar casting lengthy streaks of light down the gravel direction, leading to Gene Hackman's residence. Nobody may want to have imagined that such AB absolute tranquility concealed a nightmare swirling at the back of the silent 4 wood door. The plumbing renovation worker who idea he changed into most effective preventing by to fix a minor trouble had inadvertently come to be the primary witness to a tragedy no screenplay might dare to jot down. Clutching the cold wrench, the center elderly guy wandered around the residence trying to find symptoms of lifestyles. After a moment of hesitation at the threshold, he didn't dare to step in or something, become extraordinarily wrong, too quiet, too unsettling, clinging to every nook, every crevice. The instincts of an ordinary employee were no longer enough to name what he become, feeling, but his fast breaths and the pounding of his heart towards his eardrum spoke volumes. He went around to the lower back of the residence, through the big window that opened into the dwelling room wherein Gene Hackman regularly sat, immersed in books. Below the nice and cozy light, he noticed a scene so haunting that he swallowed his breath. Betsy Arakawa, the petite female with the mild smile, lay there motionless. Her eyes were huge open, however, not identified. The world a sad wax determine. In the once warmest room in Santa Fe, 6:10. Rattling damn, oh damn, the person's voice broke with every breath. He stepped back, his trembling hand trying to find his telephone in his coat pocket. His palms were icy, not from the wind, but from the primal fear that had just struck his nerves. The kind of fear only folks that touch the door of demise recognize. The choked 900s, 11 name echoed within the sizable vacancy of the American West. The phrases were broken, stammering, disordered, a chaotic rush of language, while the human mind is driven to its restrict. The operator on the opposite stop had heard many emergency calls, however. The way that voice slid among worry and absolute terror sent chills down her spine. I see a person in Hackman's residence. Oh damn, she's just mendacity there. Oh, rattling the disjointed portions, twisted collectively, overlapping with gasps and footsteps, retreating from the window as if he feared that if he stood any closer, a chilly hand would attain out from inner and pull him into hell with Gene and Betsy. Whilst the Santa Fe police received the record, they did not think that one of the maximum scary cases in nearby history had just been prompted from the mythical Gene Hackman's very own domestic. This town was too small to include such tragedies. Locals were handiest acquainted with land disputes, stolen pickup vehicles, or a few drunken brawls. No one was prepared for the scene the investigators noticed once they stepped through the ajar timber door. Betsy lay on the rug, her palms limp, her eyes extensive, but there was no sign of extreme worry on her face. That handiest made the whole lot greater complicated. She failed to struggle, did not withstand. There had been no signs of a scuffle. She simply lay down as if surrendering to something. She had acknowledged, had foreseen something that made the robust female now not even troubled to flee out of doors. The window of the renovation employee stood silently, his eyes glued to the body through the glass. It felt as if Betsy become nonetheless, looking lower at him through the cold glass, through the boundary among existence and dying. The police arrived. The residence changed into sealed off, however. The real thriller, the maximum terrifying aspect, become no longer inside the living room where Betsy lay, however, in what awaited behind the closed door on the give-up of the hallway, Gene Hackman's Observe, wherein his final name took place, where the true story had best just begun. Chapter 3, The Final Call. What did Gene Hackman say? The vintage cell phone was observed proper. Beside Gene Hackman's body lying askew in the bloodless mudroom corner, as if it too had witnessed the very last moments of the man who, as soon as stood at the pinnacle of Hollywood, a thin layer of dirt at the display screen turned into, smeared by using a person's finger, revealing hasty use, unsent messages, ignored calls, and, amidst that chaos, a call made Gene Hackman's remaining call a leaked source. From an unnamed investigator found out Gene Hackman made a call before he collapsed. Not a random call, no longer a prolonged chat. It'd become quick, very short, only a few seconds, but every phrase echoing from the cell phone held tightly in Gene's hand have become haunting, even to the most seasoned investigators. "I cannot breathe, something's wrong with Betsy." A reputedly easy sentence, yet it weighed a ton. Gene's voice, in line with the source, was hoarse. His breath damaged, as if each word needed to fight through the pain tightening round his chest. The investigator listened to the recording, extracted from the switchboard again and again, studying each breath, every extended pause between phrases. There was a lurking worry in Gene's voice, the sort of feeling that people who had witnessed war, who had survived life-threatening falls, really understood. Gene Hackman, who had worked tirelessly on film units, stood shoulder to shoulder with the best names, performed hard characters, who feared neither heaven nor earth, yet in his very last moments, his voice trembled like a child's. Was it because he sensed that this time everything changed into different? Why did Gene point out Betsy in that name? Investigators consider that is the most crucial clue. He didn't aim to record his personal chants, but to say Betsy, the lady who were with him for decades. This proves that during his very last moments, Gene wasn't thinking of himself. He became involved. Approximately Betsy, he sensed something amiss with her even before the crisis struck him. A atypical element was revealed. 11:6 from the audio analysis interspersed with Gene's broken sentences had been canine barks echoing from afar, probable from the toilet where Betsy changed into located. This reinforces the speculation that Gene had observed something wrong with his spouse, perhaps a sign of a health disaster, or an unusual event taking place proper earlier than his eyes. After which, even as attempting to name assist he himself fell into, chance investigators are seriously thinking about whether or not this name changed into interrupted by means of a scientific component, a surprising coronary heart attack, or a few acute symptom, or 40. Whether or not there was outside interference, however, from any perspective, that final name changed into now not just a cry for assist from a husband, worried approximately his spouse. It could also be a ultimate testament, the final key to unlocking the reality approximately what without a doubt occurred, that bloodless $3,800,000 mansion, some other. Source from the telecommunications switchboard discovered a chilling detail earlier. Then the road went useless. There was a noisy, prolonged breath, doubtful whether or not it was Gene's or a person else's in the house. It wasn't like the breath of someone looking to trap their yard, in which it turned into only some steps to the primary street. Why did he prevent proper in the mudrow, the best region without home windows? Unable to see outside the second one, hypothesis was greater chilling. Gene wasn't walking out, but walking away, strolling from his personal residence from something he had heard or seen just earlier than collapsing. The forensic crew scoured the entire mudroom, every shoe, each speck of dirt. Not anything unique, but once they moved on to observe the cell phone in Gene's hand, the door to the mystery really opened. The phone became now not just a method of verbal exchange, it became a silent witness to Gene Hackman's final moments. The phone nonetheless had battery, but the lock screen changed into not open. Investigators used unique strategies to return up all of the statistics inside, looking for recent calls, unsent messages, even recording packages or non-public journals, after which they observed a quick audio recording that lasted much less than 11 seconds, but enough to send chills down the spines of the hardest individuals. The audio commenced with gasping, heavy and damaged breaths, as though Gene changed into 32, looking to swallow, the worry rising in his throat. His voice trembled. Damaged, however. A sentence rang out actually amidst the chaotic sounds. Something's wrong with Betsy. I can't breathe. Without delay, after that sentence, there had been no loud noises, no sounds of falling objects, no screams, or, struggles most effective, a extended 3-second silence accompanied via a small clicking sound like fingertips touching the phone display region. Statistics from the phone additionally confirmed something perplexing. Simply mins before the recording turned into created Gene's vicinity, moved from the dwelling room to the mudrow, no signs. And symptoms of him going upstairs, no. Stepping into the garden, the complete residence, seemed to lure him in an inescapable closed circle. The research team at once accelerated their seek with Betsy's smartphone, hoping to find symptoms of communication between the couple of their final hours. But Betsy's smartphone changed into mysteriously powered off from the preceding night. No calls, no messages, no open packages, as if someone had deliberately erased all traces from her tool. Why did Gene Hackman maintain the telephone record, a brief 24:46 panicked clip, and then fall apart inside the mudrow, a place nearly nobody within the house ever lingered in? What did he listen? What did he see? Or did his own hand by accident touch an unrevealed truth outside the mudrow? The front door was nevertheless ajar. The cold wind of the overdue day slipped through the crack just like the breath of an invisible stranger witnessing the final act of G. Hackman's drama. However, by no means revealing themselves, after which, as nighttime fell over Santa Fe, the phone rang inside the timber house, shattering the silence on the alternative end of the road. Gene Hackman's trembling voice echoed now, not the nice and cozy, warm, resonant tones of a legend, but simply the vulnerable whisper of a man dealing with his very last second. Betsy, I'm sorry, I can. Not a choked SOB, then silence. The call ended, however. The one's phrases nonetheless hung within the air, like a belated confession, like an unfinished rationalization. What secrets and techniques did Gene Hackman take to his grave, and why? In his final moments, did he select to make that name rather than maintaining the hand of the lady he cherished? The solution, possibly, is all the time buried with the mysteries of Santa Fe Summit.